Hey there, stream. So, I've been wanting to stream this game for a little while, pretty much ever since it first came out a couple weeks ago. But to be honest, there were a couple of issues with the game that really got under my skin, that kind of prevented me from wanting to actually show it to people, because I felt like they were things that were simple to fix and that I felt reasonably confident that the developer would address them. And sure enough, a couple of weeks later, they've put out a patch that's basically taken care of uh, pretty much all of the major issues that I had with the game. So I feel a little more comfortable showing it and talking about it and kind of advocating for it a bit. Um, Still not a perfect game by any stretch, but I feel like it's come far enough along now, and the indication I get from the patch and what the developers have done with it so far is that it's a game that's worth people checking out. So I kind of wanted to show it because the other thing about this game is it can be a little difficult to get started in because it is a free to play game that's kind of tuned in such a way that if you really want to progress in it quickly, the easiest way to do that is to spend some money. Now, that's not necessarily the end of the world, right? I mean, people need to make a buck. People don't develop software for free. But there's a very fine line that this game rides between free to play and play to pay to win. And I think for the most part, it comes down on the right side of that equation where you can benefit significantly in the game from paying real money, but there are certain things about the game that I think will prevent it from becoming a pay to win endeavor for the most part. However, I think the most interesting thing about this game is the part that's not likely to be affected by paying to win, which is the co-op stuff. I won't actually get to show any of that, at least not right away. I might do another stream this weekend with Yukon because we'll most likely be playing this game during the weekend at some point. And hopefully we get to show off the co-op stuff a little more in that. But for right now, I just wanted to do like a kind of basic overview of the game, show you what it's about, why I think it's cool, and give you some pointers for getting started. So you may see some tutorializing and stuff when I first jump in here in some of these early missions because I basically have reset the game so that you can see kind of what it's like to play from the beginning. I actually have a backup of my game that's a little bit further along where I've already unlocked a bunch of stuff, but I feel like it's better for you guys to see it from the beginning. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump around a little bit and show you some things that I learned after the fact that would have impacted the way that I played had I known them going into it. So let's just get the transaction stuff out of the way up front, just so you know. This, like I said, this is a free-to-play game, but it does have uh, transactions in it, so you can buy in-game credits with real-world money. Now, let me just show the shop here real quick so you can see kind of how that breaks down. So basically, for $5, you're getting basically 200,000 credits for every $5 you spend, with little bonuses, as you get into these upper tiers, showing you how much more you're getting for committing more. So my thinking on this is that these prices and these credit amounts are kind of geared in such a way where it's not so much about trying to get people to buy their way to success in the game. To me, when I look at these credit values and the dollar amounts associated with them, I think if I had to try to get inside the developer's head for a minute, it seems to me like what they're trying to do is say, hey, if you like this game that we made, that we gave away basically for free and are letting you play for free, and you want to support us in what we're doing, why don't you kick us a few bucks and we'll give you some in-game credits and let you unlock a couple of things. Because while 200,000 credits might seem like a lot, when you understand the economy of the game, you very quickly realize that 200,000 credits doesn't get you much. You might get an armor upgrade or a decent weapon or a couple of upgrades to a weapon you already have. 200,000 credits is not an earth-shattering or game-changing amount of in-game currency. So basically, at that first tier, you're talking about like a little perk, a little bonus that you're going to get. Maybe it's going to save you from having to play, 3 or 4 missions to earn those credits yourself in game, but it's just a little boost. It's not going to have a tremendous impact. Same thing with 400,000. And I'd say like for myself, this threshold between where they start to offer extra credits is a very important threshold, because I feel like these first 2 tiers, it's basically like, okay, I like the game, I want to support what you're doing, and I want to kick you a little money. That's why you would do these things. When you start getting up here to this third tier and you start getting like almost 1 million credits, that's where you could start to say, oh, hey, people who have more money to spend are going to start to reap some pretty serious benefits, because as you'll see in a minute, the way you start this game out, if you had, almost 1 million credits at your disposal right out the gate, you're going to start the game out with a pretty big advantage, and it's going to make it a lot easier for you to move through the initial missions in the game, because basically you have 2 soldiers that you start out with, and say 4 or 5 hundred thousand credits is about what it takes to get like that initial set of unlocks for each soldier. So having around 1 million of them out the gate, and when you also factor in that when you start a new game, you start with 100,000 credits. So basically, at this tier, you're getting a serious jump on the game. And so this is where I start to feel a little bit weird about the in-game transaction stuff, because I start to feel like, from this tier up, it does kind of become a little bit pay to win. But again, as I said before, I feel like depending on how you're planning to play this game, that may or may not even impact you. Because if you're treating it as a single player experience, or you're treating it as a co-op experience, these paying them or kicking them a little money to support their development and their hosting costs just gives you a little perk or a little bonus that's going to help you out as you play through the game. Now, if you're planning to play this game in a competitive multiplayer sense, where you're going up against other people who are also playing it, I could see where some of these higher tier options would start to make the game feel like it's pay to win. Because, if you can drop $100, not that I would recommend that anybody do that, but if you could do that, you get this serious credit advantage that's going to allow you to basically unlock a ton of stuff, with no real effort, at least for those first 2 characters. Now, having said all that, there is a mechanic in the game that's very important to talk about as it relates to this stuff, which I'll get into as we get a little further in, which is basically that at a certain point, you have to play the game to unlock additional stuff. Like, they're only going to let you buy so much with credits, because you basically have to win X number of missions before you can unlock certain aspects of the game. So no matter how much money, real world money you spend, there's certain content in the game that will always be gated to you unless you actually play the game, legitimately and win it and win at it. So, I don't want to dwell too much on this stuff, because I feel like it's not the most important part of this game, and it's certainly not the coolest part of this game, but it's something that people should be aware of, that, obviously because they're going with a free-to-play model here, a big part of what they're trying to do is to incentivize you to come in here and say, oh, you know what, I'll give them $5 so I can unlock something instead of having to play a handful of missions to get it, the more traditional way. And that's reflected in a lot of the design decisions, especially in these early missions. And when you see how things are set up in the game, it'll make a lot more sense. But, all right, having said that, let's take a quick trip into the barracks. I'm also trying to give people some time to get on the stream in case they didn't see my tweet or didn't get their Twitch notification right away. But basically, here's what you start out with. So it seems to me, I've restarted the game once now from scratch, and it seems to me like every time you start, you end up with 2 soldiers, one of which that has a pistol and one of which that has a SMG. Now, the interesting thing about the mechanics in this, once you get into the game proper, it's their typical old school squad-based tactical turn-based combat. And obviously right there, anybody who's followed the blog or followed me over the years knows this is kind of like my favorite genre of games. Like if I had to say like the type of games that really do it for me, like above and beyond all others, it's these kind of like strategy RPG, um, tactical, small squad, turn-based combat games. Things like XCOM, Fire Emblem, Laser Squad, Jagged Alliance, which is probably the thing this most closely represent or resembles given the military theme. Incubation, games like that really do it for me. So when I saw this game appear on Steam, I'm like, this is something I want to check out, if only to support the idea that I feel like more quality games like this should exist. Now, as I said before, this is not a perfect game. I'm not going to sit here and say this is a game that everybody should play or that it's a game that is like, you know, uh, a torture standard bearer for the genre, but I'm really happy that this game exists because I feel like it does serve a purpose. And people might say, well, if you want to play a game like this, why not just play XCOM, which is an excellent game and is already out and done by a big developer and super polished and ironically just got a patch today, which I'll probably look at later. Um, and I would say to that, this game scratches an itch maybe that XCOM doesn't. This game isn't as deep or as layered or as multifaceted as XCOM is, and in some ways, I feel like that serves a purpose because I don't always necessarily want like the heavy, um, weighty kind of circumstances that come with a game like XCOM. Sometimes I want something a little more pick up and play, or that I can jump in and out of, easily without, investing a ton of time in it. So, you know, despite whatever issues this game might have, which I'll touch on later, um, I feel like it serves a purpose and it has a reason for being, and I'm encouraged by the fact that the development team seems to be supporting it and trying to address user feedback and really improve the game. So that's a big part of the reason why I wanted to show it to you guys. All right, so given all that, let's talk a little bit about some fundamental mechanics as far as how they impact gameplay. So when you look at these two guys, I mean, the obvious difference here being that this guy's got an automatic weapon. Now, the way automatic weapons work in this game is kind of interesting because when you fire an automatic weapon at somebody, they can't return fire for the most part. However, if you if you have a pistol that you fire, or someone fires a pistol at you, the character will automatically return fire. So that becomes very important. So like when this guy goes to fight somebody or goes to take a shot at somebody, he always has to worry about the possibility of them returning, or the certainty of them returning fire at him. Whereas this guy, when he goes to shoot with the SMG, for the most part, people aren't going to be able to return fire on him. The other thing the SMGs in this game have going for them is they can hit multiple targets. So if you have two guys standing in a row or two guys standing next to each other, they have a cone of fire, and they also have penetration, whereby you can hit 2-3 guys simultaneously with one attack using the SMG. So that's a very important tactical advantage to consider when you think about like decking out these guys, unlocking perks, figuring out how you're going to position them, all that sort of thing. It's highly important. And again, a lot of this stuff is covered in the tutorial pop-ups that occur whenever you first jump into the game and start playing, but it's stuff that I feel bears repeating, and it's also, I'm trying to emphasize things that I think are different about this game or kind of unique about it versus, say, something like an XCOM or a Jagged Alliance or what have you. So, as you can see, the barracks kind of basically doubles as the store. So, just to give you an example, and this kind of references back to what I was talking about the in-store purchase stuff or the real-world money purchasing. So you can see here's a good example. Like if I want this armor for this character, that's a 200,000 credit unlock. So that's that $5, that you were talking about before. Now you can get 200,000 credits in the game by completing 4 missions. It's pretty easy to do. From what I've seen so far, you tend to average around like 50 to 60,000 credits a mission when you complete it successfully and both your guys survive. So if you manage to do that, then getting this unlock isn't the end of the world. Missions take maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes to play out. So getting through 3 or 4 of them to unlock this by hand without paying for it isn't a huge deal. But where it becomes interesting and where it becomes really tempting to use the real world money purchasing is when you start to think about, okay, it's 200K to unlock armor. If you look at this gun, to unlock the next gun, that's 88,000. To unlock upgrades for that gun, that's another additional 100,000. So I mean, you could drop 200,000 on just another gun, with an upgrade on it, or you could drop 100,000 for an upgrade for the gun you already have. When you start looking at the damage numbers on these guns and start seeing the advantages of upgrading, it becomes pretty obvious that you're going to want to do that at some point. You may be able to make your way fairly far through the game with the default weapons, which I certainly have, but you're going to want to consider at what point do you want to start dumping some of the credits you're earning into these upgrades, and that's just looking at upgrading the weapon that you start with, right? So this is what you get when you first fire up the game. These 2 guys with these 2 weapons. Now, the other interesting dynamic to this is you have the secondary ability slots, which, as you can see, there's very specific class-like perks that you can get, such as medic, small arms. You guys can see for yourself, rifles, and it all kind of makes sense and falls into typical military archetypes as to why you would do these things the way you do. And you can see like how the value of what you get by default is very clearly represented, right? Because like to get this submachine gun would have cost 150,000 credits, but you're getting that by default, when you first fire up a new game. And as I said before, you're getting 100,000 credits right out the gate, just when you start the game. So, you can, for example, if I wanted to, I could go in and look at this SMG and say, hey, you know what, right off the bat, I'm just going to look at one of these upgrades that increases short range damage. And each one of these is 100 grand. So I could very easily just spend that 100 grand that I have right out the gate on one of these upgrades, and that would be all of the credits that I have spent right there. The other thing that's important to look at, back out of here a second, is notice that this guy, for whatever reason, can't have a grenade. And I'm not 100% sure why that is. I'm not sure if that's because he's spec'd into this submachine gun by default, and if that somehow denies him the ability to have a grenade. But notice this guy can have a grenade. And that grenade perk is... let's see, what's the pricing on that? Why am I not seeing the pricing on the grenade? That's weird. I know it costs something to have a grenade. Why am I not seeing it? Well, let's see. Let's do a little experiment, because a grenade is something worth having. So for some reason, that didn't cost me any credits. So that just seems like a no-brainer. Like, why would you not do that? I'm not 100% sure why that was the case. That might be a bug. It's possible it could be. But I'm going to roll with it for the time being because, well, grenades are super useful. So right off the bat, so now the question I have to ask myself is, do I want to spend the starting credits that I have on an upgrade for an existing weapon, or do I want to save them for armor or for unlocking a secondary ability? I mean, one thing that I was thinking about in this playthrough was, it would probably make a lot of sense to go for the medic ability right off the bat, is my first thing that I actually purchase with in-game currency, because being able to heal your guys in combat becomes very important pretty quickly. Because what you're going to find is that a lot of times in this game, you're outnumbered greatly. It's not unusual in this game to be outnumbered like 3 or 4 to 1. For your initial missions. So anything you can do to increase the survivability of your characters seems like a pretty good idea to me. But for right now, I think what I want to do is hang on to the 100 grand they give you by default and be happy that I got the grenade without having to pay anything for it. And let's jump into an actual mission so you can get an idea what this gameplay is actually like. I feel like I've given people enough time to get on the stream and given enough setup for the game at this point that people should have a pretty good idea what's going on here. So, single player is basically where it's at when it comes to unlocking new content, earning credits, upgrading your guys, all that sort of thing. You're basically going to want to, even if your intent is to play this game multiplayer competitively, you're going to want to play single player just to unlock stuff, just to get familiar with the maps, the controls, all the nuances of the game. And actually one of the big changes that happened in the most recent patch to this game that I'm really a huge fan of is that now when you play this game cooperatively with friends, you actually earn the same rewards and credits that you do in single player, which was not the case when it was first released. And that was actually one of the big reasons why I didn't cover this game initially when it came out, because I was so disappointed in the fact that they gave you the option to play it cooperatively with friends, but then punished you for doing it by not giving you any rewards. So now that that's fixed, I feel a lot better about saying, hey, this is a game you should probably check out, especially if you like playing these sorts of games and you have friends who do as well, and you're looking for a game like this that you can play with them. Because let's face it, as rare as turn-based squad strategy games are, turn-based squad strategy games that have co-op in them are almost like non-existent. Like I would struggle to even think of one in the past 10 or 15 years. So the fact that this game has that feature and now allows you to actually play it properly in that way is hugely exciting to me. So I'm just gonna get that out of the way. So as you can see, it's very, very obvious that eventually you're going to have more characters here, but basically you just select the characters you want to deploy for a particular mission and then hit start. And you can see here this next unlock in 2 wins thing. That's basically telling you, hey, you win 2 missions, you're going to get one of those unlocks. And that's kind of what I was talking about before, where no matter how much you buy with real world money, you still have to win matches to get certain unlocks. There's no way you can just pay real world money to get the unlock that's gated by winning 2 matches. So I think that's kind of a smart way to do it, to make people feel like, hey, this is something where I actually have to play the game and I can't just throw money at it to advance. So, all right, jumping in. I should probably also mention at this point that I have the music for the game disabled. I don't really have a problem with the music for this game. It's just a little bit repetitive, and I also felt like it would be distracting to have it playing while I'm trying to explain stuff and talk about what's going on. So just so you know, there is music. I just have it turned down at the moment. So basically when you start one of these matches, you get this overview of the game map, and you can see, at least in these initial scenarios, the game maps are pretty small. I am under the impression, I tend to get the sense that as you get into later missions, they get bigger and more complicated. But this is about the size of the maps that I've seen so far, playing maybe 20 or so missions into the game. The other thing I'll say is, at least initially in the game, until you start unlocking new maps, you tend to end up on the same maps quite frequently. Like, you're going to see this map appear probably more than once, even in this play session, because at some point I'll need to win a mission to unlock more stuff, and it'll just get to a point where it's like, well, you've played on all the other maps you have access to, so just play on this one again to get your next unlock. And you can see here it's highlighting the area and showing like the topography of like where I'm going to be spawning in and what's around me and that sort of thing. So pretty standard stuff, but kind of done in a cool way. I feel like this game has a cool kind of style to it that I think is nice. It's very competent. I'm definitely enthusiastic about the way the game looks. I think, so often in this genre, people kind of mail in their art design because they figure it's all about the strategic and tactical elements anyway. So they tend to get a little lazy on the art assets. But I feel like they've done at least a serviceable and decent job here of making a game that's not hard to look at. So, as you can see, you got a deployment area here, and it's got the guy that I'm going to be placing highlighted, so okay, when I click and then click again on one of these squares, it's going to place the pistol guy. So, because he cannot, or because when he fires, return fire can be done on him, I'm going to put him in the back and have him back up the other guy with his grenade. So I'm going to have him here, and then I'm going to put my SMG guy here. So as you can see, because I have a grenade equipped, it's giving me the tooltip because like I said, I reset the game, so it's assuming that I've never played before. But that's a good example of the kind of tutorializing that occurs in the game. Like whenever something new comes up, or you do something for the first time, it'll give you this little explanation that's like, hey, here's what's up with this new thing you have, which is nice. I think the tutorial stuff and like the built-in help in the game is pretty decent from what I've seen of it so far. So we'll just click to dismiss that. So another thing that I really like about this game, kind of focusing on the things that I think are positive about it right off the bat, is the way the camera control works. So you got the zoom right here on your scroll wheel on your mouse, so you can zoom in and out as much as you want, within reason, and it handles that pretty well. You'll see like the health indicators kind of suck up around your dude when you get zoomed in real tight, and they move down into a more sensible position as you zoom out, so that's kind of nice. You've also got like discrete camera control where when you click and hold with the left button, you can just kind of pull the display around wherever you want it. And if you click and hold with the right button, you can angle the camera however you want it. And to be 100% honest, this is something I wish XCOM had, because their whole like moving the camera at 90-degree increments thing kind of annoys me sometimes. Like, especially on a PC, I really like having that complete direct camera control, because I have a mouse at my disposal. I don't want to I don't want the interface to be dumbed down or limited. And it's not a dig on XCOM. I understand why they did it the way they did in that game, because they were trying to simplify the controls, but also I kind of appreciate and enjoy this method of camera control way better. I think this is a nice improvement on that type of mechanic. So anyway, as you can see, my guy's got this grenade. If I wanted to, I can throw that grenade right now, in any of those squares that are highlighted, it would reach. But obviously, since there's no enemies around to actually throw it, it would be kind of pointless and a waste of a really useful tool. So you just click it again to uncock it, put the pin back in automatically, thankfully. So let's talk about like movement and cover and things like that. So as you can see, there's all these squares, which are obviously the squares that I can move into easily, right? So this is basically your typical mechanic which you find in this genre of games, which is if I move into any of these squares, I can still take a shot. I still have action points left over to fire at an enemy if they come into view. If I move into any of these squares with the arrows on them, these are sprint squares, and by moving into that square, I've used up all my movement points for that turn and cannot fire. So if you, say for example, wanted to get into this boat area and get behind that, that would require sprinting, and then even if, say, an enemy came into view as a result of running over here, I wouldn't be able to actually actively shoot at them because I had sprinted over here. So the other thing you've probably started, when I highlight over certain squares, I get these indicators on the perimeter, which are cover indicators. And people who played XCOM will be familiar with this concept. It's actually implemented very similarly here. So indicating that, I would have cover from fire in that direction, standing in that square. Surprisingly, I would not have cover here. But I guess that's because of the angle of the boat kind of being tilted and not being right up on it, in that particular position. One thing you find about cover in this game is it tends to be fairly sparse, whereas, say, comparing it with a game like XCOM, where you basically almost have to move from cover to cover in that game, because there's just so much of it that it just doesn't make any sense to do anything but that. This game, you're going to find cover spots are fairly frequent, but they're not everywhere. Like, you're not always going to be able to move into cover, especially if you want to advance to certain locations on the map. But as you can see right here, I've got 2 pretty decent cover spots that are within movement range, such that I can move up, maybe get a peek over these boxes and see what's in this direction and still keep myself in cover. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So it's basically just once to select the location, and as you can see here, it's going to show you this is close range from that location, this is medium range from that location, and this is long range from that location. So depending on the type of weapon you have, you're going to be wanting to keep things in close, medium, or long range all the time. So having this indicated so precisely and obviously is a really nice feature, so I can know when I move to this square, this is exactly the range that everything's going to be in from that position. So, and again, left click again to confirm. And sometimes you have to double click, I've noticed, whenever you actually want to make the move. And I think that might just be a safety thing where they want to make sure that you actually want to go to that square before they execute the order. So now you can see I really don't have anything else that I could do. If I could take a shot here, if there was something to shoot at, I would have that option. But because there's nothing to shoot at, all I can really do is end the turn. And at first I thought, why don't you just end the turn when you get to that state? But it becomes obvious later in the game why they don't do that, because once you get into a situation where you have multiple weapons, one thing you may want to do is move into a position and then switch your weapon so that when the enemy turn occurs, you have the proper weapon equipped. Like, it kind of doesn't make sense right now because I just have the pistol, but say if I had a pistol and a rifle, I might want to then, move up, get into position, and then choose the weapon that I want to use. So I kind of understand why they're doing it the way they're doing it, but as of right now, it just necessitates that I actually hit this end turn button. So there's that. So enemy moves into position. So now he's seen me, I've seen him. He's also got a buddy. So as you can see there, he shot at me, I returned fire. And it's going to give me the firing tutorial. Again, can you reset everything? Alright, so this guy has the SMG, and that range right there versus that cover spot is pretty much ideal for the SMG. So I think what I'm going to do, the pretty obvious move that I need to make here, is move up into cover, and then it's going to, again, tell you about the range stuff, which I already did. But then you can see when I go to select this guy, it's going to show me, yes, he is in fact in range of that weapon. And notice how the SMG range indicators are different than the pistol range indicators. Like, you have this really big short range box, and then a smaller medium range and a very small long range box. So you can see how the weapon damage and accuracy really drops off on the SMG, but how it's super effective in this range level. Now, I'm going to attack this guy because he's closest to cover, because what I don't want him to be able to do is move up that one extra square and get into a cover situation on the other side of this box. I want to hit him while he's still completely exposed. So that's why I'm making him my priority target here. And also, you notice my cone here. Like, so this is a good example. Like, if he had a guy standing back here or back here, they would also be getting hit by this SMG fire. So, just giving you an indication of how that works. So let me pop off on this guy. And again, it's explaining the cone of fire thing, which I've already done. Okay, so a very important thing when you first start playing this game is the idea of focusing fire. It might be tempting to look at this guy and say, well, he can take a shot from where he is at this other guy, but really what you want to do as much as possible is utilize the fact that you've got two guys who can take shots to really wear these guys down as fast as you can. Because the thing is, as long as he's alive and up, he can take a shot. So what you want to do is really focus your fire and get these guys down as quickly as possible and then move on to the next guy. And because these guys are so far away from each other, a grenade really isn't a viable option here. So I'm just going to unload on him with the pistol. And as you can see, I'm right at the edge of effective range for the pistol as far as close range damage goes. Even though I can hit this guy, it's a much better shot to take this one. So, and you can see there he's down. So now he will not be able to fire at either of my guys. And now we've retained a 2-on-1 advantage for the remainder of this encounter. So as you can see, I don't have any other additional actions here. I can only fire once per turn. The most I could do here is move, but since I'm already in cover, it doesn't really make sense for me to move. So I'm just going to end the turn. So you see that guy moves up into a cover situation. He's only got a pistol though, so my guys get to return fire on him. And so another thing I should mention about this game that's a bit different from other games in this genre that you definitely want to be aware of. You might be used to, in games like Jagged Alliance or XCOM, being able to just say, oh, I don't want to move this guy right now, I want to move this other guy instead, and being able to click on them and do that. As you can see here, I'm clicking on this guy and that's not happening. That's because in this game, every unit has their own initiative, and so they move in order as their initiative dictates. So this guy is always a little faster than the guy with the SMG, so he's always going to go first, no matter what. So that's just something to keep in mind, that you can't just move your guys in whatever order you want to. You move them based on their attributes, basically, and that's kind of fixed, and there's not really any way you can change that. That was a little frustrating for me when I first started playing the game, because I'm accustomed to the way other older games have done it, but I kind of appreciate it now that I'm used to it, because it, in a lot of ways, it almost kind of makes more sense that, like, your guys have inherent abilities, and that dictates how they behave, more so than you just arbitrarily saying who moves first on a given turn. So anyway, I should have a pretty clean shot at this guy from cover. I don't think I'm in any danger of hitting my own guy, given that line of sight, so yeah, took him. I'm going to give him the business in a second here with this SMG, and that should finish him off. Now you notice along the sides of my guys here, I've got these health indicators, which are showing how healthy they are. Obviously, my pistol guy's been taking some damage here, so I got to be concerned about that. But hopefully, I'll be able to finish this guy off before he gets too much more banged up. Because I definitely don't want to lose this guy this early in this mission, or it's going to make stuff really tough for me later. So let's drill this guy. So, you know, this is one of those times where the game can get a little frustrating. Okay, because you sit there and you look at that scenario, right, and you say, here I am, holding an SMG 1 square away from this guy and dumping on him with it. How is he not dead? And, you know, I really can't make an excuse for the game. I really can't, you know, be an apologist for it and say, well, that's just the way they balance the game or whatever. I feel like that's kind of a bummer. Like, I feel like in certain situations, you should drop a dude, and that's a situation where that dude should just be dead. You know, if I unload on him with an SMG at that range, he should just be dead. You know, but, you know, in the interest of representing the game fairly, the enemy can do the same thing. You know, they can run right up to you and shoot you point blank and not kill you either. So at least it's fair in that regard, even though it seems to be pretty unrealistic if you ask me. So what I'm going to have to do is just hope that this guy doesn't get another good hit in. Okay, so actually my guy gets to take his shot first, so hopefully I can drop him before he gets to do any more damage to my pistol guy. There we go. Alright. So that was a little bit more damage than I really wanted to take there, and you can start to see almost immediately where having this guy have the medical perk would make a huge difference, right? Because if he can take a turn and sit here and heal himself and recover any amount of this health, that really changes the nature of the scenario pretty drastically. But because I'm, rolling with these default characters and they don't really have any perks, I have to just roll with what I got and just try to be careful and not let him get into a bad situation. But at the same time, I have to keep him near this guy because they need to be able to back each other up and focus fire on enemies to be able to take them down effectively. And also, this guy has the grenade, which is going to be key to successfully completing this mission, because when I inevitably do come across a cluster of enemies, I'm going to need to be able to drop that grenade in their midst and do significant damage to them simultaneously. So I'm going to take a bit of a chance here and move this guy up, because I'm planning to move the SMG guy up even further on his turn, and I'm hoping that I can do that without exposing myself to more enemy fire. But let's try it and see how it goes. Okay, excellent. So I've managed to move myself up. I'm in a much better position to try to get to cover somewhere the next turn, and my guy's not taking any fire. So similarly with my SMG guy, because I am pretty confident no enemies are going to appear from over here, I'm just concentrating on moving up in this general direction to identify additional enemies and hopefully line up some decent shots so that I can hurt them more than they can hurt me. So in the interest of doing that, I'm actually going to use the sprint ability here to just sprint into this cover and try to set myself up, knowing that I'm only one square more forward than my pistol guy. I'm thinking it's pretty likely I can safely do this and not worry about losing an opportunity to shoot at an enemy. Alright, looking good. So obviously during those pauses, that's the enemy taking their turn, but they're not encountering me, so I'm not seeing them. I have no idea what movements they're making or where they're ending up or any of that sort of thing. I'm just kind of here doing my own thing. Now, a big concern I have is that it's my pistol guy's turn to move. But when you look at the options of where I have to move, there really aren't a lot of great options here. Because best case scenario, I sprint up to here to try to get near this cover, and I end up sprinting right into enemies and not being able to even fire at them, having them fire at me and quite possibly kill my guy before I even get to do anything. So I kind of have to measure my desire to advance this guy forward against the tactical risk that I'm putting him in by doing that. So rather than even moving up here to the edge of my movement, I'm going to play it a little safer and move back here a couple of squares so that even if I end up revealing some enemies, they'll hopefully be at such an extensive range that they won't be able to hit me effectively from that range. So this is basically a gambit to try to gain line of sight on the enemies without exposing myself to too much danger. Alright, that's interesting. So my guy's getting 2 turns here as opposed to the 1 for my SMG guy. Now that may have been because I sprinted, so he may have lost a turn to my sprinting, but we'll see. Now again, I still want to be cautious here. Like, I can't quite move into cover without sprinting. I mean, I can move into side cover here, but that's not going to be particularly effective. I think what I'm going to do is move up here in such a way that I, on the subsequent turns, should be able to move to these sandbags and still take a shot. Let's inch up here a little bit more. All right, so there's an enemy, right? So obviously he's at the extreme edge of my range. So I could fire at him right now, but I'm not likely to hit him or do a ton of damage. The other thing is, though, he's kind of already looking in my direction, so the chances that he's actually seen me are pretty high. So more than likely he's gonna come after me in the next turn anyway, so even though I'm at the extreme edge of my range, I might as well take this shot, because I'm probably not gonna get a chance to get the drop on him any better than I have right now. And again, that's 2 pistol shots at extreme range, so the probability of damage there was pretty low. So as you can see, like, I haven't really taken significant damage as a result of that. But I have definitely 100% alerted him to my presence, so there's that. So I think what I want to do here to try to help my pistol guy out is to give them a more attractive target to shoot at just for a turn or so. So I'm gonna run my SMG guy up right here to the edge of his move and shoot range, and let him try to light this guy up. Yeah, he's just out of range, so I can't even take that shot, which is a bummer. I probably should have checked the range before I moved him up, but I think he's just 1 square back from where I'd actually be able to shoot him. But at least that gives him something to be concerned about, so he may choose to shoot at the bigger threat, which would probably be advantageous for this guy, because at this point I'm really trying to conserve his health. Oh, so now we got another SMG guy in play. Alright. So as you can see now, my guy is hurting. He's in serious trouble as far as his durability goes. He absolutely has to get to cover now. There's no real choice about it. The only question at this point is, do I try to get him to full cover inside the building and hope that there's no bad guys in there, or do I take the slightly less risky position by the sandbags here and still be able to take a shot? I think I'm going to go for the sandbags and hope that I can keep this guy at the edge of my range so that he can't actually shoot at me without exposing himself. So as you can see, he'll still be at the very edge of my pistol range when I make that move, so I will be able to shoot at him, but his likelihood of hitting me from where he is will be just as bad. So I'm going to try to keep myself... Alright. So as you can see here, there are 2 of them there behind those sandbags. Now, obviously my preference would be to get as many of them together as possible, but I think given this guy's health situation, well, that grenade isn't going to do a lot to that other guy. Like, he'll get right on the edge of the blast radius, but it's not really an optimal scenario. So I think what I'm going to do is just take the pistol shot and try to hope that I live another round to use the grenade more effectively. Oh, my guy is really hurting. In fact, that didn't take him out, did it? No, but he's really hurting. Alright, so what I really need to do at this point is to really take the focus off of my pistol guy and put it completely on the SMG guy, who's basically at full health. And the easiest way to do that is going to be to just run up here and try to catch both of these guys in the SMG cone. Because there's really no effective cover solution here for me unless I sprint right up into his face, but that basically is just going to give him a free shot on me, so that makes no sense. So instead, I'm going to move this guy up. That exposes yet another enemy, and I'm going to take this shot. Now the cone isn't going to catch the other guy, unfortunately. Let me check the cone this way. Yeah, the cone's just not gonna do it. But hopefully I can drill this guy hard enough that it puts him into a bad way. And there you saw the example of because he was returning fire with a pistol, I got to return fire again for free with the SMG. which is very helpful. I kind of almost want to... I wish this guy didn't have such low health, because I'd really like to get a grenade toss out, but I'm really concerned that if I try to do that, I'm going to end up just exposing him to terrible things. I think I'm gonna kind of stitch my way over here, try to get myself a little bit closer without making myself an obvious target, and try to take another pistol shot. Okay, he missed his return fire, which was really good. Ah, damn it. So that's how quickly things can turn, right? So now I'm down to one guy. I've lost my grenade in the situation where the grenade probably would have been the most useful, because I could have really used it to weaken these guys behind the sandbags. But that's just kind of the way it went. You know, had they been in a different position, had they been over here instead of over by these sandbags, I could have popped the grenade like a couple turns ago and probably devastated them. But now I'm just in a bad situation, right? Because I'm basically surrounded by enemies. I don't have a ton of health left myself, so really my only recourse at this point is to try to get to cover and try to get to a sustainable cover. I hate to do it, but I'm going to have to make a run for it over here. Just get in this building and hope for the best. I don't think I have sufficient firepower, though, to win this with only one guy. See, the good thing about going for cover there was it basically negated all of their shots. Hopefully I can take this guy out. I'm going to go here into this corner just to eliminate his ability to shoot without moving. Damn. Yeah, I mean, that was just a bad scenario. I kind of caught a bad break there with the way those guys were positioned. But this is very indicative of how this game is when you first start playing it, which is why the temptation to just, you know, drop them $5 or $10 to get some credits and upgrade your dudes right off the bat is so strong. Because as you can see there, I only earned 2,800 credits from doing that mission and failing it, so I really haven't made significant progress towards, you know, unlocking, say, that medic ability. The only way I'm going to do that is to win this mission, and it might take me 2 or 3 retries to do that, given the guys that I have. So the thing about that, though, is when I do hit retry, you're going to see that there's a lot of randomness to this game. Like, I can play this exact same scenario again with these same 2 guys and have it play out very differently, because where the enemies are, their patrol routes, their sort of behaviors are all randomized each time you play the same mission. So there's no guarantee that this will play out the same way this time. You notice also the scenario is different, right? It's a daylight scenario now, which I believe has an impact on visibility. So I might be able to see them from further away in the daytime and plan more effectively as a result. But anyway, so just to show you, you know, that you can basically do everything the same and have a different outcome, I'm going to position my guys like I did last time. So I put pistol guy here and SMG guy here. And then it's giving me the cover tutorial, which of course I already knew about. That's cool. So again, I'll move pistol guy up here to that solid cover. Alright. So there's a dude. Now, you'll notice this time the guy has his back to me. So he has not seen me. He does not know that I'm here. If I fire at him, he will know that I'm there and will act accordingly. So right off the bat, there's a question I have to ask myself, which is it worth it for me to take a shot at the extreme edge of my weapon's effective range and expose myself, or am I better off just hanging back and letting him continue on his merry way? I'm going to go with merry way until I get SMG guy moved up, at least. So you can see he's still on patrol there, right? Still on patrol. This guy's... Okay, so there they just discovered me, but I got to return fire. Alright, so now those guys are both very much aware of me, and what I really need to do at this point is keep them together, because that's going to be a good grenade opportunity, but I've got to wait, of course, for the guy with the grenade's turn to come back up. So I think what I'm going to do is, rather than move, the temptation might be to go down here and get cover at the boat, but what that's probably going to do is split them up, and I want to keep them together if possible, so I'm going to move here to this cover spot instead and take my shot and try to just encourage them to stay together. And we'll hit the guy who's inside optimal range. But you can see already, just in these first couple of turns, how differently this is playing out. Okay, so again, those two guys right there, they've both still got a decent amount of health. They're going to get the chance to move soon, so I want to take advantage of this while they're together. And I'm just going to pop them right here. Get them right in the middle of that blast radius for that grenade. Alright, so end that turn. Now if I could set this up in such a way where I could actually... Well, the one guy's already pretty screwed. Yeah, he's already down, so it's just a matter of finishing off his buddy. I think what I may do is just move this guy up, since I know I have to do that anyway, and take the optimal shot to really take this guy down quickly. And then, as you can see, the damage he took from the grenade was substantial, so that really made it really easy to finish him off there. And again, same scenario, same two dudes, same equipment, didn't change anything, didn't buy anything, but you see how much better off my guy here is after killing two guys than he was the last time. So that's something you need to be aware of if you decide to play this game, is that, you know, every time you play these scenarios, they're going to play out a little differently. You can't count on things going the same way every time. Which, you know, I definitely consider that to be a refreshing, kind of nice thing myself. I'm a fan of it. But it does take some getting used to, and especially when you're first starting out in the game, it can be frustrating as hell, because you know, if you catch a couple of bad breaks or a couple of bad spawns right away, you just get clobbered no matter what you do, because, you know, maybe you just have bad luck. Now you'll notice that even though both of my guys died in that last attempt, they're still both fine now. So, you know, any gear you buy, any progression you unlock, you know, abilities or stuff you unlock is persistent regardless of whether or not your guys survive. You know, this isn't like Fire Emblem or Jagged Alliance or XCOM where when a guy dies they're done. It's more like you know, when a guy dies it's mission over, but you restart and can have them right back in the next mission. So in that respect, you know, it's a little more forgiving than some of those other games. But also, because the combat scenarios are so lopsided most of the time, it can be kind of brutal. So again, here I need to move up kind of through this no man's land and get to cover and whatnot, but I don't want to do that in a sloppy way. I want to do it in a way that's, you know, at least reasonably safe. So I think what I want to do is move this guy up, say, to here. Looking at my ranges, yeah, that's a pretty good range. Alright, so that's good. Nothing there. One thing you may be wondering about is whether or not you can loot fallen enemies. To the best of my knowledge, you cannot. I've not seen any prompt or indicator or ability to do that, so that's kind of a bummer. You know, it'd be nice to be able to like pick up ammo or supplies or medical kits or whatever from enemies, but you know, it doesn't seem like you're able to do that, which is kind of a bummer, but not terribly surprising. Now, since I already have this pistol and I know basically his line of sight is good up until this point, I feel more confident sprinting my SMG guy up to join him. So that's, excuse me, that's actually what I'm going to do here, is just sprint up into this location, knowing that it's not likely that we're going to encounter enemies and be able to actually do anything about it beyond reaction fire. Alright, so, again, much more controlled version of this scenario at this point, right? Because these guys are pretty healthy, haven't come across any enemies here in this middle area yet, but I know darn well they're here somewhere. So you still got to be a little cautious, still got to be a little wary about what you're doing, but you can definitely see how I'm in a much stronger tactical position here than I was last time as a result of how that initial encounter went. So, gonna move... I want to move to secure this building because I'd like to know for sure that this building is secure, but I don't want to just run up to the door and be caught unawares if something should go down, because, you know, this is a sprint square, right? So if I get up to that spot, I'm going to be exposed and not be able to shoot. I'm going to have to wait for a reaction shot where they shoot at me first. So I think the safer play for me is going to be the sandbag. And that puts me in a decent position. Yeah, pretty happy with that. Now, because I have used my grenade, I need to be a little thoughtful about that fact, and the idea that you know, I don't have a win button here to hit now that I've already used it on those first two guys. So if a group of guys shows up out of this building, or turns out that there's, you know, some in here or some in here, I gotta be careful in terms of how I engage them, because I definitely don't want to have them catch me unaware. I think that I'll do one more sprint up to these sandbags to join my pistol guy, again knowing that the line of sight is already clear. Let's see how things unfold. This guy seems to have line of sight into that building, and it does appear to be clear, so that's a good sign. That means all the enemies are probably concentrated either up here in this building or in this building over here. It's also possible that there could be guys over here that I just don't have line of sight on because they might be exceeding my guy's effective visual range. So I'm going to be kind of careful as I move up here to make sure that I don't go too far over to the left, so that I don't come into the visual range of any guys who might be out here in this courtyard. I kind of want to hug this wall almost, run up here and check this building, because I think it's likely that if there is somebody in here, it's probably just one or two guys, so I want to try to thin them out before triggering whatever might be happening over in this bigger building. So as you can see, I can move up to that next sandbag and still take a shot, so that's a pretty easy choice for me. And again, he hasn't witnessed anybody yet. It's cool. Okay, so that guy just popped out of that building. He did not see me, though. But now, because of that fire situation, that's definitely woken a bunch of people up to what's happening here. So now my cover's basically blown at this point, right? But I'm in a scenario that's a lot more manageable because I know things about what's going on here. So obviously I know that guy's over there. I know we've got guys in this building, and that one guy just vacated this other building to go to that building. So what that tells me is that if I can get in here and secure this building and take this one guy out, that gives me a pretty defensible position to then work out of to get these other guys. Like, what I don't want to do is engage this guy by the sandbags, because that's going to basically put me out in no man's land trying to take shots at the extreme edge of my weapon's effective range. So I really want to try to just ignore this guy as much as possible and focus on getting into a cover situation and taking this guy out. So let's see what we can do about that. Now, unfortunately, I am not in a good position in terms of movement right now. Like, my best bet is probably going to be to come into this alleyway and shoot through. Is that a shootable window? No, that window is no good. I'm actually kind of wondering why I even have line of sight on that guy, to be honest, because it says I can shoot at him, but I'm not 100% sure why. Okay, no, there is a window there. Okay. It just wasn't rendering it properly. Okay, so given that, I think what I need to do is use the cover opportunity here at the point blank range to just take a point blank pistol shot on him through the window. And then what that should also do is eliminate his buddy's ability to see and or target me from the doorway that he's in. Because if I come back to this square and shoot at this guy, his line of sight on me is going to be obstructed by the corner of the building. At least it should be. So I'm going to make a move here. That guy a shot. Now, that is a dangerous move because he's got a machine gun, which means he can fire on me without me being able to fire back at him. But I think it's a risk worth taking because I really want to clear this building out as quickly as possible. And the easiest way to do that was to get a shot in on him as soon as possible. Now, the other thing I need to do is move this guy up so that he can do exactly what this guy just did on his next turn with his SMG. And I'm not really particularly worried about moving and firing at this point because these guys are going to be at the extreme effective range of the SMG anyway. So, like, say, just as a for instance, if I were to move here, right, and say, oh, I want to be able to shoot and move this turn, I could theoretically hit that guy, but I'm not going to damage him a great deal at that range. Same thing with the guy in the doorway. It's a theoretical hit, but it's not a solid hit. It's not the kind of hit you really want to take. At this point, getting to the cover and getting in position for the next turn is way more important. So I'm going to move him up. Go to cover, and hopefully this will pan out. Alright, so now this guy is going to get to return fire if I fire at him, but you'll see my health is still in pretty good shape, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's probably worth it to get another hit in on him and get him weakened even further, so that when this guy comes in, he has a better chance of finishing him off. So let's see what we can do damage-wise here. Alright, that was a pretty good hit. I took a little more damage, but it's okay because I still have movement at this point. So I can move myself. I can't quite make it into the building, which is a bummer. If I could make it inside that building, I would definitely do that. But I'm a little bit concerned about leaving my guy hung out to dry with these guys taking up positions behind these sandbags and stuff. So I think the safer bet, the thing that I'm going to do, is set myself up behind the building so that I can take advantage of this cover in case this guy decides he's going to come around back here and fiddle with me. So let's move this guy to cover. Alright, I don't think that was very effective on his part. Okay, I can't get in there and shoot him from inside the building, but I can do the window trick just like Pistol Guy did. So I'm gonna do that. Hopefully this will do the trick. Alright, good, he's down. So that's a hugely important takedown right there because it basically eliminates everybody who had line of sight on me, right? So now I'm in a much better, much more defensible position, right, where I can say, okay, I've taken out those guys. I've got this building reasonably secured. I have a pretty good idea where the enemies are. I know there's a guy here, know there's a guy in that building, know there's a guy here at this sandbag, but they have to come to me if they want, a piece of me. So what I can do is start looking at how I want to approach these guys. Do I want to hold up behind this building and make them come to me? Do I want to try to advance in such a way that I can pick them off as they advance on me? What's the tactical opportunity here? I definitely like the idea of working out of this building and kind of making them come to us. But at the same time, my movement scenario is a little limited here because, once again, I'm using this guy and need to make a move with him before I can move the SMG guy again. I kind of feel like moving these guys together and letting them kind of focus their fire is probably going to be the way to go. And I also want to see how the enemies make their moves before I determine what I'm going to do next. So let's move him into a fire position. Yeah, nobody's in my effective range with the pistol there, so I'm just going to end the turn. So there they come. Okay. So here we go. Here's my chance to move pistol guy into cover. And I think I definitely need to take that. So yeah, we'll sprint him into cover. In front of this building. So yeah, it's just got some windows and some doors and stuff here. Let's put him in this cover scenario. And similarly, let's put machine gun guy here as well. Alright, I'm feeling a lot better about this scenario. I feel like this is a place where I can take a shot. He's at the edge of my medium range, but that still should be a pretty good shot. Give him something to think about. And I'm just going to hold my ground at that window for now. And would be nice if he was a square closer, but I'm not going to vacate my cover to get that. Now I can move to cover here, which would eliminate his ability to hit me head on, which I think I will do. Alright. Alright, man down. Well, not man down, tango down, I guess I should say. Alright, so that's feeling pretty good about that. That took out that guy, didn't really take a lot of damage. I mean, my SMG guy has taken more damage than I would have liked, but we're also getting to the point now where there aren't too many enemies left, so I can get a little bit more aggressive now if I need to, but I'm going to just try to hang back and let them come to me as much as I can. Yeah, that guy's definitely trying to make a move there. Now the question becomes, do I vacate my cover to try to take a hit on that guy? I'm going to say no, because I don't like that scenario. Like, if I could get to those sandbags and then take the shot in one smooth motion, I'd say it would be worth it. But the other thing is, he's got an SMG, so as soon as he starts returning fire on my pistol guy, that guy's going to become a lot less effective and take a lot more damage. So I think the question becomes, do I want to try to secure this next building instead? Because there's probably at least one more enemy in here. And what I may want to do is just make the run across there into cover and see if I can take a shot. Yeah, sadly, I can't quite get in here and take the shot. I can get in here and see what's going on, but I think I'm still going to be exposed to whoever's in here. But I think it's going to be worth it. So let's try that. The other reason I feel like that's worthwhile is because now I've got guys on both sides of this road, right? So looking down at the enemy here, that's a potential pincer or crossfire scenario. And I'm actually kind of surprised I didn't find a guy in here. So that's interesting. I guess they're down to their last... I guess that is their last guy. Now that I'm looking at the indicators up here, that would seem to make sense. I definitely don't want to... expose myself unnecessarily, though. I think I could probably take a shot from this window. Let's try that. Yeah. Because he won't be able to return fire, and he's in my optimal range. Okay, he's got to wait. You know what? Let's... I really want to keep both of these guys alive, if possible. So... And that building appears to be clear as far as I can tell. Let's... There's no real good cover scenario here for me, unfortunately. If I step out here... Does that put him in the edge of my range? No. Oh yeah, it does. Okay, so I could step into that doorway and take a long-range shot and minimize his ability to hit me. Alright, see if I can finish him off. Now, the smart thing I think here would be to move away from this window here so he doesn't get a free shot on me. So that's what I'm gonna do. The guy's pretty hurt. Nice. Alright. So that wasn't the last guy, though. They have at least one more up somewhere. Because that mission didn't end. So is he... It's possible that because I never came into this building proper, that there could be a guy like here somewhere that I'm just not seeing. I guess if I want to try to figure that out, now's as good a time as any. I just heard that guy move. Where did he move to? Somehow I'm missing this enemy. I'm thinking maybe he ran into that building? Oh, okay, we're back up to full movement on this guy. Alright, let's take a peek out this window. No idea why I'm not spotting this other enemy. I thought there had to be one more. figure out for the life of me where he actually is. He's got to be in there somehow. Somehow I managed to go past this building without him actually coming out. It's the only thing I can think of. Anything? Any line of sight there? Yeah. Oh, there he is. How did I miss that guy? Alright, well, the good news is I'm in a relatively decent position to fire on him, and he is out in the open. And, let's, move you to solid cover. I think what I'm going to do is, because he has to come this way towards this door to get me, I'm going to start moving. I'm going to move him away from the window at least. Maybe split the difference. Alright, now you should have a shot. No. Alright, maybe if I go to the doorway here. Sometimes when the walls go away a little bit, it gets a little weird. It gets a little hard to tell where the doorways are and the windows are sometimes. He's right at the edge, but I might as well. He can't return fire anyway, and that'll give him something else to think about. Let's take another shot. Yeah, my guy's getting kind of banged up, but he's still okay. Alright, there we go. That should be the end of it. Yes. So when the last enemy goes down, you get the automatic cutscene or little camera view showing you that it's over. So since both my guys survived, that's a 5,000 credit bonus. So it's definitely worth it to try to keep your guys alive if you can. I mean, obviously, if you even have one guy left at the end of the mission, you're going to get a mission successful, and you're going to get the big bonus for that. But if you keep your guys alive, you're going to really appreciate having that extra pile of credits. And of course, killing 6 enemies, another credit boost there. So, 28 plus 5, 32, or 33, 36. So, plus the $2,000 I got from failing it before, so up to 138. So figure a couple of more scenarios like that, and I'll be able to get the medic perk on the guy with the pistol, which will really help his survivability. Alright, so I get my next unlock in one more mission. So let's try to do another one so I can get that and show it to you. Hopefully I'll be able to do this in one try. But as you can see, like, even right from the get-go, like, that very first scenario was not easy. Like, it's, it took some thinking and some tactics to actually get through that, especially with only 2 guys and, like, the default gear. So, definitely if you're going to go into this game, go into it knowing that it can be a little dicey right off the get-go. And like I said, they do a good job with the tutorials and stuff in terms of bringing you up to speed on the mechanics, but it still can be a bit rough. Alright. So this scenario is pretty straightforward. You get these 2 buildings, and actually for once, they give you a pretty decent tactical advantage with the ability to start out inside the buildings if you want, or to use them as cover and whatnot. Now it's tempting here to want to split your guys off and have each one of them take a building. But again, I highly recommend keeping your guys together, especially when you only have two of them and you're dealing with the default gear, because you really don't have a ton of stopping power between that pistol and the SMG. So the focus fire is really important to getting guys down initially. So the big question becomes, which one of these buildings is the better one to secure? I mean, obviously you've got this doorway in the back of this one, which means you can pretty much run your guys right in here and get inside and work it from the inside out. Which is probably what I'm going to try to do here. But I've also tried a few different scenarios. I've run these guys up between the two buildings. I've had them both come around this side. I've had them go around this side and ignore the entrance and work this building from the outside by the well. It really just depends on where the enemies end up spawning and what kind of clues you get about their tactics, and a little bit of luck. Because honestly, in these first scenarios, sometimes you just need a little luck. But what I think I'm going to do is, just for the sake of example, I'm going to try to secure this building from the inside out, which means I'm going to put these guys in a position to do that. So I'm going to, since I know this guy's going to get to move first, most likely, put pistol guy closer, and SMG guy right there. Talking about line of sight. Alright, so as you can see, pistol guy is able to move in here very expeditiously, and he can actually get in there right up to that window right away, which means that should give him very good indication of what's going on, and also gives him cover that he can fire from. So we're going to go with that. So it talks about camo. Right. So I'll just read this out so in case you can't make it out. But normal spot range is 12. Camo is subtracted from the number to determine if you're seen from that distance, basically. So if your guys have abilities or equipment or perks or whatever that increase their camo, that's going to cut down on the number of squares from which you can be seen by an enemy. So that's important to keep in mind. So 12 is the default, and whatever you have that lowers that number is going to make you harder to spot until they're right up on you. Which, things like that are part of what make me think that as you get deeper into the game, these maps have to get significantly bigger. Because if they're talking about 12 being your default range for spotting someone, that's almost like a third of the way across the map, or in some of the cases like half of the way. Like I think that's like halfway across this map is 12 squares. So that leads me to believe that maps later on in the game must get significantly bigger, probably something more akin to what you'd see in a Jagged Alliance or something like that. Alright, so that guy doesn't have anybody to shoot at. Now the question becomes, do I just want to have submachine gun guy cover the door? That's probably not the most efficient use of him. I think what I'll have him do is come back over here by this box, which provides cover, and just make sure this side of the building is secure. Since we know back here we're good because that's where we spawned in, it just makes sense to make sure that this part we haven't seen yet is solid. Alright, let's see what the enemies do. Alright, so one of them just moved in. They're in a cover situation, but that's not cover for Pistol Guy. Pistol Guy should have a clean shot on him. And he's right at the edge of his range. No reason not to take that. Now, what I can do is move out of line of sight, make him come to me, not give him a free shot on me. Since he's got a submachine gun, if he shoots at me, I won't be able to retaliate, so that's a good indication that it makes sense to move him out of line of sight, because I don't want to give him a free shot. Alright, So you see this guy, he's trying to get an angle on that window, but what he maybe doesn't realize is that this guy is right here behind cover. So we're going to light you up. And let's look at the cone. Unfortunately, this guy is in the cone, but he's out of range. So there's like little, if any, chance of him taking any damage from this, but that just goes to show how important the cone can be. You can see he would be in the cone if he were a little closer. So that's something to keep in mind. And again, let's not make it easy on them. Oh, that guy's over there. Okay, so things we need to consider. Right now we've got a pretty decent spread of guys. Got a guy over here, guy over here, guy over here. We know that this guy is going to shoot at this guy again. That's pretty obvious. What we're not 100% sure of at this point is whether or not it makes sense to pop out here and try to shoot at these other guys, or just take the shot on the one guy we have line of sight on. Because the problem with standing at the window again is that yes, it would allow me to shoot the guy that I already shot, but it would also expose me to fire from both of them and possibly this third guy. If I stay where I am and just take the shot, it's kind of a long-range shot, but I don't expose myself to fire from anyone else. So that's probably the safest play I can make at this point. So that's what I'm going to do. If I can get these guys clustered up, I'll definitely use the grenade, but right now the grenade's just not a smart play because I can't hit more than one of them with it. Alright, so now, again, I could move deeper into cover and make it even harder for them to hit me, which is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to force them to leave their cover to come after me. Yeah. Fortunately, it's the pistol guy who's been coming after me, and that's actually a really good thing because I've been able to return fire on him. You know, if I had been getting shot by an SMG guy this whole time, I wouldn't have been able to hurt him as much as he's been hurting me. Yeah, we're just kind of trading blows with each other with these pistols. I think what I want to do is move into this cover scenario though, so it should be pretty difficult for anyone else to hit me if I go into this corner. I don't want to turn into a pincushion here. Alright, so this is a little bit of a dicey scenario here because I'm not considered to be in cover, but I can also prevent him from doing major damage to me if I take cover before I fire on him. So just like he's in cover around this corner, I'd be in cover around this corner. So that's the only reason I'm moving up here, is just to make it so that, well, I guess what I could do, which may be the smarter thing to do, would be to fire on him from where I am and run for it into the building, because then I don't expose myself to his retaliation fire. So basically I get a free hit on him. So let's do that. Right, so now I can retreat into the building. I just need to make sure I do that in a way. Well, let's go with this corner. Let's see what these guys do. Alright, that guy's down. Now, my pistol guy is kind of hurting, so at the first opportunity, I'm going to want to use my grenade, even if it's just a matter of getting one guy, because it'd be better to get one guy for sure with the grenade than to have my guy go down and lose the opportunity to use the grenade. So, what I may need to do, let's just see. Yeah, I don't have line of sight to be able to throw it anywhere appropriate from there, but if I go to this cover spot, I can huck it out here right on top of this guy, basically. It's kind of a waste, but I'd rather use it than lose it. That made that guy think twice, as it probably should have. Alright, so now I can move back to my cover spot with SMG guy, take another free shot on him. And that was inevitable. My pistol guy was going to take a shot there because there's just too many guys in play. But I think you can see how that scenario played out pretty well for me, all things considered. And because I'm still at the window here and I'm not dead, I can take a shot. And move myself back into cover again. Oh, I think I screwed up there. I think I actually had an opportunity to take another shot because the turn had reset and I didn't realize it. That's my mistake. Well, you know what? What to do? What to do? Do I risk it? If I've interpreted this correctly, then I should be able to move here and shoot. Let's see. Yes, I can. Alright. So, now, my big objective is to try to get into a firing position with this guy as quickly as possible. And the easiest way to do that is going to be a sprint. So, sprint this guy over here. Alright, so now I should be able to shoot and take cover. Okay, so my guy's on the ropes here. I need to get him to cover and keep him there. And now let's look at finishing this guy off ASAP. Let's just can I take the shot? Let's see, can I take the shot and retreat? Yeah, I should be able to take the shot and retreat. Because the temptation is to always just run up on them and go for it, but the more you can conserve your own guy's health, and the more you can make them come to you, the better off you are going to be for the most part. Alright, so again, you know, it's a really dicey thing. Like if I expose this guy, there's a good chance he's going to die. So I need to be real careful about what I do here, because this could definitely turn bad for me real quick. I want to keep this guy alive and get that credit bonus if I can, so I'm really going to try to play conservatively with him. Uh-oh. Oop. Something went a little haywire there, but it seems to have recovered okay. I think because this guy is so healthy, I'm not going to worry too much about running up here. Yeah, if I wasn't completely concerned with this guy getting just wasted, if he gets return fired on him, I would move him up and try to do something with him, but I'm just going to try to hold my ground here. Alright, so this guy on the other hand is in pretty great shape, so I think what I'm going to do is just have him go a little Rambo, because his health is pretty much perfect, and this guy's been getting pecked at for a while, so let's just see if we can finish this. And again, that's just a good example of how when things work out, when your tactics play out, you can one-shot a lot of these missions even with the default gear. Maybe I got a little bit lucky there. I'll be the first to admit it. That scenario could have played out very differently, but I also made the best advantage or made the best use out of the opportunities that presented themselves. I didn't take any, crazy risks. I forced the AI into situations that benefited me and weakened it, and that's exactly how you want to play this kind of game. And I guess that's one of the things that I like about this game the most is that because it is so tough and because it puts you at such a disadvantage when you first start playing it, it's really rewarding when you're successful at it because you really feel like you've accomplished something because it's not a fair fight most of the time. And I think that's really cool. I would definitely encourage anybody who's interested in what they're seeing here to check this game out and give it a fair chance because I feel like they're doing a lot of things really right in this game. And even though the difficulty curve is a bit higher than what you might be accustomed to, even from this genre, I feel like it definitely pays off because it's a very rewarding feeling uh, to succeed in this game. All right, so having done that, let's do our unlock because we won 2 missions, so now we get an unlock. And the thing I will tell you is before you do anything else, do not be tempted by these credits. Because as I've said before, the mistake I made when I first played this game is I saw 75,000 credits and thought, oh, that's a lot of credits. I should get that. No, do not do that. Do not go down this branch. You want to go down this branch because you want to gain access to that +1 slot as quickly as possible. You want to get that 3rd soldier online. You want to increase your tactical opportunities that you have by having 3 soldiers on your squad. You want this as soon as possible. So don't even think about it. Don't hesitate. Don't even consider this other tree until you get that +1 slot unlock. Because as you'll see, I'm going to take this and it's going to give me another scenario to play, which is cool because I get to be on a new map and that's exciting. But more importantly, it's another 5 wins before I get that +1 unlock. So I've got to do 5 more missions with these 2 guys before I can get a 3rd guy. And if you make the mistake of going down that other tree, you're going to be playing a lot of missions with 2 guys before you get the ability to grow out your team. So make sure whenever you get to that first unlock, you take the tree that's going to lead to that 3rd slot. It's very, very important. It'll highly impact your enjoyment of the game. So make sure you do that. All right. I think I'm going to play one more mission because we've got a couple people watching, and I'm sure some people will want to go back and watch the beginning of the video because that explains a lot of what's going on with this game, and it's probably better if I don't have to repeat all of that stuff again, and then people won't have to hear it twice. But I'm going to play this mission. I'm going to try to get the medical unlock for my pistol guy, and then what I'll probably do is take a little break, give people a chance to watch the VOD if they missed the beginning of this, and then come back later tonight and play some more advanced stuff. But for right now, let's try to get that medical perk unlocked because I think that'll be cool to show later. All right, so we'll play this new scenario, get these guys selected, and let's start. I'm very close to being able to get that medical perk. I think if I can win this mission, I should be able to get that. Okay, so this map can be kinda rough. There's a lot of places where enemies can be. There's a lot of weird sight lines to be aware of. This may take me more than one attempt to get through this successfully with these default guys and this default gear. But I'm going to try my best to do it in one go. We'll see how it goes. Maybe the grenade god will be kind to me and give me a bunch of guys together to hit all at once. Alright, so looking at these buildings and the layout of the map, got point of entry back there. Got Trying to remember where the point of entry on that. Okay, that building's point of entry is there. Yeah. I think I'm gonna have to be real conservative here with this default setup to make this work. And I think what I'm gonna have to do is probably work this corner. I guess what I want to do is establish what my initial strategy is going to be so that if I have to deviate from it, you'll know why. I think what I'm going to try to do is to secure this building on this first attempt and work out of there because we've got these upper level elevations to consider this time, which is kind of a new thing introduced in this map. And I want to make sure that I'm considering all these sight lines and whatnot when I deploy these guys. If I had better long-range weapons, I'd be tempted to position somebody up here. Like if I had a sniper at my disposal, this would probably be a good scenario to shoot for. I think right now my only two choices are to try to go to this corner and secure this building, or to kind of skirt along the outside edge of the map here and try to secure this building from the rear. But so much is going to depend on where the enemy spawns are and what their patrol routes are, and since all that stuff is randomized, it's really hard to predict. So I'm going to position my guys as if I'm headed over here, and we'll see how it goes. I can't remember for sure if I can slide through this gap or not, so that's another thing I need to verify. I think I can, but we'll see. Alright, so since we know our pistol guy is going to move first, let's put him in the best position to take advantage of that. And we will have SMG guy back him up. Oh, so funny. SMG guy must have leveled up or something, because he's moving first now for some reason. Alright, no worries. Let's get him into position as quickly as possible. Okay, so what enemy exposure do we have? So we got a guy not facing us. Now, because I am SMG guy, I can safely fire on this guy without having to worry about the return fire scenario. And given the range that he's at, kind of makes sense to do that. I'm probably going to take a hit here because I'm not in cover, so that's a bit of a concern. But I feel like the likelihood of him turning around, spotting me, and shooting me on his turn is so high that I might as well just take the shot that's been presented to me here. Alright, so now we're looking at this in terms of how do I secure this building as quickly as possible. Now the thing I could do is I could come up here and take a shot on this guy, but as you can see, he's got an automatic weapon, so he's going to be able to return fire. So what's more important to me at this point is establishing a decent cover scenario for this pistol guy. So we're going to run him into this building to do that. Okay, he just exposed that other enemy as he ran through there. You can see him running back through that alley, retreating. Unsurprisingly taking damage there. No big shock. Okay, so SMG guy definitely needs to consider his cover situation. Definitely want to get to cover. Probably going to take my shot and do a little retreat, to be honest, just to play it safe, because I don't want to leave myself out here in the open. But since he won't be able to return fire, let's do that. And let's run away very quickly. Looks like I can go here, which should break line of sight pretty easily, still put me in decent striking distance. Okay, we got guys setting up over there. Okay, so here's my guy inside. Let's have him take his shot and then duck for cover. Alright, excellent. That's the best I could have hoped for from that scenario, because I didn't take any damage on pistol guy. Now he's got this area secured. I know this building is safe because I've been inside of it now, and that means I have a good area to operate out of, and I can start thinking about cover scenarios using these sandbags and such. So I think what I'm going to do is, let's move myself into a flat cover scenario against the sandbag. More enemies. Lots of enemies. Lots of palm trees. They've got big palm trees. Alright, so, yeah. So this is where things could get really dicey. Like if I'm not careful about how I do this, I could easily get overwhelmed. But you can see we got a guy here. Got a guy probably in that building somewhere. Got this guy over here. Yeah, so there's the guy in the building. There's the guy here. There's the guy by the car. So automatically this is a scary scenario because we got 3 of them versus 2 of our guys. None of these guys are close enough to each other to justify a grenade toss. I'm also not in a good grenade tossing scenario right now. But what I should be able to do is to look at moving into this general vicinity so that if a good grenade tossing opportunity occurs, I can do it. And also I can limit my own risk to a certain extent. I think what I want to do is also look at what these guys are carrying armament-wise. So this guy's got a pistol, so I don't have to worry too much about engaging him because my guy will be able to return fire if I do engage, if he does fire at me. Let's see, this guy also has a pistol, so that's good. And this guy also has a pistol. So that's a good scenario for my pistol-wielding guy because that means if any of these guys fire at him, he's going to be able to fire back, which means it's a strong position for him to be out here engaging them. You know, it's not a terrible idea. So what I think I might do is go to this double cover corner and take a shot at the guy behind the car, and that should allow my SMG guy to move up and maybe perhaps flank him. Okay, so we got another enemy spot. Okay, so we got the guy by the door here, so we need to see what he's carrying. I bet he's got some kind of automatic weapon. Huh, no, he's a pistol guy as well. So that's a lot of pistols. I wonder if I could get a grenade in there with those 2 guys. Let's take a quick look at the grenade mapping. Ooh, yes I can. Yes I can. So I could drop a grenade right there between them and screw them up pretty good. I think that's something I want to do. That guy's like, bro? What's up, bro? What happened? Well, see, there was this guy, and he had a grenade. It's real bad. Okay, so, looking at the scenario, this revised scenario as a result of that grenade, my guy's got to move up into this area. I think it's going to be important for SMG guy to focus on this guy outside, help focus fire him down with pistol guy. So that cover scenario on that flaming car should be okay, at least to take a shot on him. It's not ideal, but it should work. Let's give it a try. See, these guys having pistols makes such a huge difference, right? Because if they had SMGs and I couldn't return fire when they fired on me, it would totally change my whole approach to what makes sense to do here. Gonna have you hunker down. My guys are in a much stronger position than their guys, both from an armament standpoint and just a tactical standpoint. What I probably want to do now is look at repositioning myself so I'm not exposed in this direction. Let's get to a cover scenario here. Alright, what do we got? Pistol guy. The guy's still pretty healthy. I feel like it's perfectly valid for him to hold his ground with his health at that level, because he can return fire on any of those guys. Alright. Okay, go down. And there you have it. It's actually much easier than I was expecting it to be, but because so many of those enemies had pistols, because I got a good opportunity to use my grenade, and because my initial tactic of trying to secure that first building allowed me to take out the one guy they had that had an automatic weapon early on, all those factors contributed to that being a success. So, yeah, there we go. 189. I believe I needed 185 for the medical perk. So, pretty excited about that. Let's jump back to the barracks real quick and check that out. Let's get our pistol guy his medical upgrade. So that's, let's see. I've had to play 2 scenarios to get the first unlock. And then I just played that scenario. I only had to retry once, so that's four playthroughs, 4 sessions. So however long it's taken me to do these 4 sessions, not counting the time I spent blabbing while I was starting the stream. So that's not a ton of time, to get to this point. So let's look at pistol guy, and let's see what we can do. All right. And actually, since pistol guy is normally pretty speedy, I'm hoping that the medic perk won't hinder him too badly in terms of whatever speed penalties associated with it. Well, let's give it a try, see what it does. Alright, that seems like something I'm going to enjoy using. Alright, so you got him. Now, of course, credits back down to 4,300. Not super excited about that, but I have a feeling this is going to be well worth that expenditure. And I guess, let's see how many scenarios do we have to the next unlock. 4. Let's see if we can get one more win in before I stop the stream, and see if we can see the medic in action. All right. This scenario seems pretty straightforward. It seems like this is pretty much going to be, hey, we're going to drop you in at the edge of this very specific area and have you just go in and shoot these dudes like fish in a barrel. We'll see how that works in practice. Alright, so thinking we want our medic as our backup guy now. Just seems to make sense. And I'm betting that he's definitely going to move second now that he's burdened with that medical kit. I'm assuming that's going to have an impact on his speed in terms of initiative and not just movement. So let's get SMG guy up front. Yeah, so SMG guy seems like he's going to be moving first from now on. Alright, let's see. Reasonably confident that I can move up here without being detected, but let's just play it safe and make sure that I can take a shot if necessary. Yeah, so as you can see now that I have 2 items selected, it's letting me know that I have that option to switch. So just to show like what I was referencing earlier when I was talking about it, like if I say were to so this square, or let's say this square just to play it safe, this square is not a run square. So even though I move up to here and I don't have a shot on anybody, I could switch to the medical kit or to the pistol. And so that's why it's giving me that opportunity to do that before I say end turn, so that I can say what I want to have equipped, you know, before I commit to ending the turn, which is nice. Alright, so we got a guy here looking to do us harm. Not seeing anybody else right away. I definitely want to get into effective range if I'm going to be shooting this guy. So let's see where effective range ends on the SMG. So right there. I think I'm going to move here just in case I need to move pistol guy out to take a clean shot. I think I should have line of sight. It looks like I might, but that rock may interfere with it, so I want to make sure pistol guy can step out and take a shot if he needs to. So that puts him at the extreme edge of short range for pistol guy. Alright. Deader than fragile. Okay. Shoot. I would assume that he can shoot over those boxes, but we'll find out for sure, I guess. Man, the doc is the murderous medic. Alright. So my health's looking good. Not too concerned. I've gotten a little nicked, but nothing too severe. So I'm just going to continue to advance in here. I'm definitely worried about a pinch. I'm worried about guys showing up out of these tents in multiple directions at the same time. So I think I want to definitely try to work the perimeter as much as I can. Let's go with this. We got. Okay. That guy actually doesn't see me, I don't think. I'm not sure I want to give myself away just yet. What's he wielding? So he's got SMG, so if he does shoot at me, I'm not going to be able to return fire. But unless he moves up on me, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. Let's let this turn play out, see where he moves and what he does. Okay, yeah, he didn't detect me, so he didn't shoot at me. So it was actually probably the smart move there to not shoot at him. Alright, definitely don't want to move my medic out of cover. So if I'm going to shoot at this guy, I need to do it from here. Let's just assess. It's like the extreme edge of my effective range. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to do that. Let's wait on that turn. Okay, so I think what I should do now is look at moving up on this guy. Yeah, the only thing I don't like about this is it puts me in a zero cover situation, but getting a drop on him is probably worth it, especially with the medic there to back me up. Let's try to create a focus fire scenario on this guy. Still haven't really taken enough damage to be really worried about healing at this point. Shot medic. Man, clean that guy's clock. So I didn't even get to use the medic, but I think you can see where the medic could have been really useful there had I been taking a lot of damage, and certainly was hella useful with that pistol. I think he got all the killing shots. But oh, I see now that the threat level on this mission was very low, and given there were only 3 enemies, that makes a lot of sense. I guess I should have been paying more attention to that, but that's another win. So it puts me that much closer to that next unlock and being able to get that 3rd character slot. So I'm all for it. So I think what I'll probably do, like I said before, is take a little break, let everybody who wants to go back and watch the beginning of this on the VOD. That'll explain probably any questions you might have if you came in midstream. Midstream. And then after I give it a little bit of time, probably come back, play these next 3 missions, get to the next unlock, show some 3 soldier missions. Maybe if some other people are online, maybe I'll jump in, do a little co-op and show off that. Because, like I said before, I think the co-op aspect of this game, especially now that it properly rewards co-op play with credits, is probably one of the most exciting parts of this game. If you're into this type of gameplay and you have friends and you want to play a game like this with them, this has a lot going for it. And considering that it's free to play, and as I've shown here in this video, you can succeed without spending any money. It might be a little difficult, but it's certainly possible. I think that shows that this is, probably something that's worth checking out if this looks at all interesting to you. So, for now, I'm going to take a little break. Like I said, watch the VOD if you want to see the beginning of this. If you haven't already and you like what you're seeing here, hit the follow button so you'll know when I'm streaming and you can see more of it. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later.